thing, please.
Let's well, hold on. We got one more caller on the horn, and then we'll talk about that one-up thing. Caller, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kyle. How you doing?
Good.
I have a question. What do you believe was wrong with the original time shift gameplay-wise?
The original time shift gameplay-wise, I think that there's a lot of things that we were never allowed to focus on because of the 6-month flashbang extensions. I think that we allowed this one-button time control to exist in the final product as a method for opening it up for the average gamer. You don't have to use it. You can override it by just pushing and holding. But I think that the gameplay wasn't deep enough for a whole variety of things that happen, right? When I play first-person shooters, I would like to explore more. I think that time travel really limits the paradigms that you can really go into. And so it gets into a situation where I would have liked to explore a lot more with gameplay complexities, but because people always say, well, wouldn't you just travel back in time since it's a time travel game and just undo that and then not have to deal with it anymore? You're like, oh, fuck, the space-time continuum. Right.
Fucking Einstein.
Yeah, I guess we can't do that. In fact, in the game, one of the things that we did to conquer gameplay and to still let gameplay exist, in Time Shift, let's say that there's a mountain of barrels, because barrels permeate every game. In fact, Time Shift didn't have them at one point in time, but then people didn't know what to hide behind, and so then we went through
a barrel right here,
add them back in, because people are like, I don't know what to do. I'm just getting owned out here. There's nothing to hide behind. Stop time. There's a shot. But if you saw this huge display of barrels and you run up and you shoot it with an explosive device, and in this spectacular display of physics and special effects, barrels go flying through the air all over the place, hitting guys, colliding with them, knocking them down, rolling over them. You're like, wow, that's sweet. And then you go, hey, what if I went and stood there and hit time reverse and they all rebuild around me? Because I don't go backwards in space. I'm existing
You're
where
static,
I can.
right.
So this discussion came up while we were in Russia at I don't know, in the middle of the night. It's way too late at night for us to start realizing that this is a huge bug that could plague the game. We're like, fuck, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? You'll shoot your way out. You'll just be inside and coexist in all these barrels, and you'll just be shooting your way out from the inside, and eventually, the inertia of it all will move, and you'll be good. And you're like, all right. So programmer runs away, and he's programming on it, comes back with an early test, right? And so we're like, great. But one of the guys in the office isn't so great at gameplay, and so he actually ran out of bullets, and he's still stuck in there. Right? And so bullets don't work the same way as a melee attack. They're completely different mechanisms on the code base. And so you couldn't melee your way out. So we're like, oh, all right, let's go melee. Okay, go ahead melee. So he runs off for a few hours. It's not 4 in the morning. Everybody's half asleep, trying to look at the game.
Dead, right.
And he comes back, and then we're like, oh, sweet, so this is going to work. So we play for a couple more days, as we're going through stuff. And then we realize that if you stood perfectly at the vertex, or on the vertices of a barrel, you could have the barrel actually coexist with you. You could be half barrel, half man kind of a thing, oh, shit, what are we going to do? And so what we decided was we would just kill the player and just print on the screen, you have violated the space-time continuum. Retry. And we're like, oh, gamers are never going to go for that, right? We can't do that. We started thinking, I was like, no, somebody's got to go for it. It's the real problem. That this is what happens in real life. You have violated the space-time continuum. You are now dead.
Yeah.
Your family's
this
dead.
This isn't a video
your
game problem.
Dead.
I'm not going to solve social science.
Marty McFly dealt with the same fucking dangers, ladies.
Gigawatts galore, 88 miles an hour.
You see what happened to Biff, man? He just took over. Can't allow that.
So,
let's please do the one-up thing.
That's a really funny story.
Please.
And let's talk about the one-up thing a little bit, since we're getting near the final moments of time. So one-up.
What the fuck?
And I love this because this is from the same company that. They had the same guy review 2 light gun games, one for the Wii, one for the PS3, and I'm not playing favorites here, but really blown away by your scores there, Nick. So anyway, Nick was involved with this as well. Hey, game developers, WTF. 5 things they claim they're going to dock your game for. So all of a sudden...
So you have to design for them.
And you know what? We're just as guilty as this. Game journalists are all of a sudden the fucking, last rite of passage.
We're the
for
experts.
a game,
We're the ones that program the games that understand the complex game development cycle.
Well,
what are you talking about?
It's not really fair.
You still get an opinion, though.
Of course.
I'm the guy who hates when somebody trashes something, but I'm still a gamer, right? And I still
Right.
recognize that people get an opinion and stuff,
Of
right? And
course.
so just because your opinion may suck, it doesn't change that you get an opinion in it.
And
It's your $60. I mean,
this particular article, too.
Opinion's fine.
If
Telling
they
people
were
what
to
to
say,
do.
hey, we were talking around the office, Sum and I were talking, we just decided we were just going to jot down the 5 things that we kind of fucking hate right now, trends, But to come out and be like, yo, we're going to dock your scores from now on. And so I'm going to keep a fucking close eye, because if these games are not docked because of this, journalistic article that came out, then, I guess that they didn't go against, or they went against what they said. But let's look through a few of these, because I disagree with some of them, as I'm sure lots of people are, who...
Well, and maybe Kyle can tell us maybe why these things happen in the first place, or maybe there's
Sure,
a
we'll
reason
talk about it. We'll
behind
talk.
some of it.
So, number 1 is unskippable cutscenes, and I'll be honest with you guys, I fucking hate unskippable cutscenes personally, especially when
I can
you're
see why.
when you're in like a boss battle and you've got to watch 5 minutes before you get that boss battle.
That's
a
okay.
little rough.
Wait,
Well,
the
I
first
think it
time-
should. I don't mind unskippable the first time.
Yeah, the
through,
first time.
But the second and third, that's the problem. Because actually, if I were a game designer and storyteller,
Which
I
you're
actually would want people.
suck
If,
at
if
that.
that's part of the game, is the story and getting you immersed in that experience. I want to make sure the gamer gets the full experience and gets to be immersive in it. But if you die as soon as the cutscene is over and you have to watch the same thing over again, then yeah,
All right,
that's
well-
kind of the
that's
problem.
that's absolutely the perspective that
Okay.
I agree with. There's 2 problems there. One, I do think that you should see the storyline, or you forfeit the right to ever bitch about story. Right?
I agree,
If you
totally.
skip cutscenes, you cannot bitch about story or
Absolutely.
immersion. The
Lose
second
the
thing,
right.
though, is I think that you should, watch them as a reviewer and everything else, and it's a plaguing thing in the video game industry that there's not enough cinematographers as part of teams to keep the
Fair
pacing
enough,
going.
right.
I mean, when working with Tim Schafer, he understands pacing, storytelling. Let's keep this going. Let's keep this moving. Let's keep the jokes going, and let's keep the camera angle transitions.
Right.
Versus, the snore fest of some cutscenes I've seen in other titles where I'm seriously checking for a pulse.
Exactly.
Halfway through. And
Exa-
that's something
those
you
are
should
the
fault
ones
the
you
game
typically
for.
can't fucking skip either. The ones you're just like, So
that's a review hit. I mean, you hit the game then for saying the cutscenes are something that drag on. You don't hit the game because you can't skip through them. And I think that watching it once, completely fair. But if I suck and I keep dying, or you've improperly balanced the game and I keep dying,
Right, exactly.
let's let me move through there.
Okay.
All right, number 4.
Number 4, let's take a look at it. It is save points. And reading through this, they actually make a couple of really good mentions. My personal favorite or non-favorite is Resident Evil ink ribbons. If you remember, you had to pick up ink ribbons so you could type on a fucking typewriter because that's how you save your game. Yeah, that made a lot of sense.
Annoying.
Back then. But so did a house full of zombies. So what's your, I always see debates about this on the internet. Don't give me the ability to save anywhere. That means the game's too easy. And then you've got an audience that's like, yo, give me the ability to save anywhere because,
game's fucking hard.
I want to be able to consume my game, whether it's in 5 minutes, 20 minutes, or 8 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm that way too. So what are your thoughts on that?
This is a really personal topic to me because one of the first games that I was a QA guy on was...
You did QA?
Yeah, went right through the ranks.
I love that shit, dude.
Was
Been there.
Aliens vs. Predator before Gold Edition, the
love
first
that
one.
fucking game.
And,
This is like the Doom 2.
Yeah,
engine one.
well, this is actually built
Okay.
by Rebellion.
Okay.
All right, and Aliens vs. Predator let you play as any one of the 3 races.
Right.
So genius.
But there was no save points within a level.
That's true.
For the purpose of horror. You're playing a horror game. Suddenly, it's not so scary when you're like, "Oh, dude, around the corner, quick save.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah,
I'll
you're
go
right,
5
yeah.
foot forward. Oh, quick save. Quick load." And so what happens was the whole dynamic of a facehugger chasing you down a hallway, and you're worried about it latching onto your screen and taking it over is really dumbed down when, you can just save. So
Right,
what happened in
right.
Gold Edition was Fox went back and added in limited number of save games per difficulty.
Like 3 or something.
And so
Yeah,
8
that's
for
right.
easy,
Oh, okay, there you go.
4 for
Scales.
medium, 2 for hard.
Cool.
Right? And I think that that's something we should be looking at. I like checkpoints.
Yeah,
right?
I love 'em.
I like checkpoints. And I think that you should allow me to save as much as I want on easy because you know what? I made the choice.
Yeah,
It's my 60 bucks.
absolutely.
Let me play the game the way I want. But for the scope, I always view normal difficulty as what publishers and developers should be focusing as the game.
Right.
The
Awesome.
game better be the default difficulty, which should be normal.
Right.
Right? That the game should be shaped however you want it to be shaped. And so I'm really a fan of Time Shift lets you save anywhere, and it uses checkpoints and goes, all the way. Maybe some people would argue that's too far. But I think that it's the kind of thing of, I have limited time. I don't know what your household environment's like. I want you to play the game because you bought the experience that we were building.
Right.
But I recognize the concession that, who knows, you have ADD and every 5 minutes you got to put the game down, or, you have limited time overall. I don't know what happens there.
Exactly. And by the way, I'd just like to give a big FU to the author of that article, because he actually says that no one in their right mind should ever have to say, I'll get to that right after I find a save point, because motherfucker, that's what lets me stay on my video game consoles longer, you dumbass.
That's the girlfriend
and
wife
maybe he's
pass.
not married, maybe he doesn't have a girlfriend.
He has a boyfriend.
But once you actually learn a little something about the female race, you will learn that will be God's gift.
Yeah,
like,
one
I'm
second,
almost
one
there.
second. I mean, come on, one
And
second.
an important thing to note on that is how much easier have games gotten on that. Like, I don't even have health bars in most games any longer, right? Like, so it's saving. It's already like you're letting me save because my health is regenerated. Like, I used to have to go on a hunt and like really like barely move through a level, monitoring my health and my mana or my whatever else.
Well, don't you
Now I
think
don't
like
do that.
nowadays people just want that win button, that easiness though? Like as games become more mass market, they have to be like made super easy. Like
Yeah, it's
They don't want to get frustrated. The hard, trying to just reach a broader audience than the hardcore.
Which really
That's
sucks.
make a
does.
game for it and watch is like you want to see me so pissed off. You guys should take some cameras to a focus group session that we do, where they
I'll-
put
I'm
me
there.
behind the
Let's
double-sided
done.
glass.
I'm there, dude.
And
Done.
somebody's
We'd
playing
love
the
to
game
get
because
on one of
I'm the
those.
guy on the other side of the glass going, "You fucking idiot! The fucking button's right there." It's like a huge like red button, right? I've actually been known to follow guys out to their cars before, like afterwards, and have a talk with them.
see the fucking button?
Don't tase me,
Seriously.
bro.
Because
Bro,
you know what
don't
happens?
tase me.
What these guys say in a room, your marketing guys are busy going like,
Oh,
"Oh, it's too difficult
exactly.
at level 3, like this
my
is
God.
happening." And so then they come back to you, and then some executive in some meetings like, "Well, I heard the game's kind of difficult." The guy was semi-retarded. Like, he came in and he had like a nervous tick while he was playing, and it kept like affecting his aiming. Like, I'm not listening to that.
There's something to be said, too, about the ease of games now. I remember the shitty 8-bit Nintendo games, and I'm going to throw
Fucking
one out.
Mario.
There was a Super Nintendo game, Jurassic Park, that had no save system. So you had to play
Brutal.
through this motherfucker like 9 hours straight. And it's like, you know what? When I was in 7th grade, it was like, fuck, this game's not going to get the best of me. I'm going to fucking beat those dinosaurs. And you do it. And nowadays, I don't think guys will do that. I think guys are too pussy, and gals, I don't want to leave you out of there. You're pussy too. Where you'll like play for 2 hours. Oh, it's too hard. And just go to the next game. And it's
You're right.
I think that this sort of the appreciation of the difficulty level that games used to be at is sort of...
Dude, look at Call of Duty 4 versus Call of Duty 3. I played Call of Duty 3 on Veteran. I'd be like taking one step. I'd be like, "Hey, what's over there, guys?" Boom, and I was down. Right? Infinite spawners, a lot of hits to the head. Like I was always struggling with something like that. But I fought my way through. Right? And Call of Duty 4 on Veteran is really fucking hard.
Yeah.